Okay, I think the button says you're live, so I know we're live. How are you doing, Melissa?
Good. We are live, Sharon. I've been looking forward to this all day, especially with all of this wild stuff going on outside. I'm looking forward to some sunshine from you.
Wow, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, we have the wildfire. They're happening in Canada. So the air. I'm right outside of New York. So the air is like nothing else we've ever experienced. It's terrible air quality. We've had to stay inside. So yeah.
Really?
Very unusual time for us here in the Northeast. Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. See, I try not to watch too much news because of my mental health, my sanity, right? I try to stay off the news a lot. Last time I was watching comedy because I was reminded about my T cells, like, all right, laugh some more. T cells are good. So I was watching comedy last night. So see,
I don't blame you, especially when you're going through a cancer diagnosis. The news is sort of the last thing.
It is the last thing. Well, Melissa, I want us to talk about your journey. And I know I had some stuff there in the introduction, but you are a 10-year survivor of triple negative breast cancer. And so take us back. First of all, tell us who you are. And we're going to get into details as to how you started your Cancer Fashionista site and blog and podcast. But take us back 10 years ago.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show here. I love everything that you're doing, and the resources that you provide are wonderful for the community. So, my name is Melissa Berry. I'm a 10-year triple negative breast cancer survivor, and I had a lot of breast cancer in my family. My mother had breast cancer. My grandma had breast cancer. We're Jewish Ashkenazi descent. So really pretty much every woman on my mother's side of the family had breast cancer at some point or another. And when I was about 32, my mom was like, oh, you should get the BRCA test. And I thought, well, why would I want to do that? Then I'm going to be worried about, the fact, getting breast cancer at any moment, like I'm a time bomb about to go off. So I took a moment and I really did some research and I thought about this and I thought, okay, I'm healthy now. If knowledge is power, and if I have the BRCA gene, it's not a death sentence. It's going to be my GPS. It's going to be my roadmap for my health. It's going to give me some guidance, and it saved my life. It really did. My mother ultimately really saved my life because I tested positive for the BRCA gene. I was monitored very closely. So I was getting a clinical exam, a breast MRI, ultrasound every couple of months, and I was eating kale, doing yoga, doing all the things, and still at age 42, 10 years later, I was diagnosed during a very, very, ordinary mammogram routine visit, and they felt a lump. And I remember thinking, well, that's weird because I just had an MRI, but all these different imaging. That's why it's so important to really be on top of it especially if you're BRCA positive. And I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, and it was really shocking because I had not only did I never hear of triple negative, but I didn't even know there were different types of breast cancer.
Right.
And this is during a time in my life. I was a fashion design major in college, always loved fashion. I think I was born a fashionista, like love shop, love all the things. And I was a PR person in New York, raising a young family. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? And so when I hit the internet and, once I knew what my course of treatment was, I was very lucky, Sharon. It was stage 1. I had to have a bilateral mastectomy and very aggressive chemotherapy. But once I knew what my course of treatment was, I was like, okay, the one thing I felt like I could control was how I looked. And I didn't want to look like I had cancer. So I scoured the internet for, wigs and lashes and how to do, tie a scarf, and nothing was all in one place. So I made a list, and that's how Cancer Fashionista was born.
Wow, amazing story. I need to go back to some things that you've said. So you said you were eating kale, right? Because you knew you were BRCA positive, so you were doing the right diet. You were following the cancer prevention type diet, right? And which is maybe it delayed it for a while. I don't know. But you said you ended up getting that anyway, which can be a little bit discouraging, isn't it? Like you're doing everything right, you're eating right, but it still happens. But okay, we move beyond that. You also said you were stage 1, but you did a double. Was that the doctor recommended that, or?
Yes, it's because, well, first of all, just to dial back to the diet, one thing I've learned, I love, there's so many different, plans out there, but Rachel Beller is a wonderful resource, Beller Nutrition.
Mm.
She's actually a nutritionist and dietitian who specializes in breast cancer. And she always said, it's not what you do all of the time. It's not what you do some of the time. I'm mixing it up. It's not what you do some of the time, it's what you do most of the time. So
Right.
everything in moderation. And, there's no perfect formula, but we do know based on science that, when you eat clean, it creates a better environment in your body, and it makes it harder for disease to grow. I mean, that's like really layman's terms, but
Right.
but yeah, I was living a relatively healthy lifestyle, which doesn't, certainly doesn't mean that because you're living a healthy or because you aren't that you could have breast. I mean, there's so many environmental things, genetics. I mean, there's no one really knows the core reason, but it was definitely surprising to me. And yes, it was stage 1. It was triple negative, and the aggressive chemotherapy, the ACT chemotherapy, and the bilateral mastectomy was a strong recommendation by my doctors because triple negative is such an aggressive form of breast cancer.
Okay. Sarah, who was my partner on this show, she said such an important thing. She said, I'm an Ashkenazi Jew, 10% of age women with breast cancer carry a BRCA1 or 2 mutation. Look at orgs like Force. Do you know Force?
I love Force. Wonderful organization. Yep. And the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation obviously is amazing. And JScreen is another wonderful organization that actually offers free BRCA testing.
And Andy said, Sarah, I'm an Ashkenazi Jew too, and had no idea about this stat. 5 minutes in, and this is already a wildly informative discussion. Thank you, Sharon and Melissa. Melissa, well, we have Andy here on the line. Andy is one of our dear friends. Talk to us a little bit, because like Andy's here now and she's saying she had no idea about this stat. So do you want to just expand a little bit on that? Because you said your mom, everyone in your family was touched with breast cancer on the female side. And that's why they have that testing.
Absolutely. This is why it's so important to know your family history and to talk about it and to have the genetic testing done. And it's really pretty simple, and it doesn't take a long time. And also, if you have daughters, I have young adult daughters now, ages almost 21 and 17. And, it's important to know for their sake as well. So that way you can make informed decisions for your future and the future of your family. It's very important.
Are you encouraging your daughters at this age when to take a test? Or what is the recommended age for that? Or and what? Yeah.
It's a very personal decision, but yes, I do believe that the sooner that you know, the better, so that you can make an informed decision. And this could probably be a whole other conversation, but there's a whole mental health component. Like, you need to make sure that the young adult has the support that they need, both in the family, in the home, as well as possibly a third party, to make sure that they're mature enough and able to receive that information and then make the decision that works best for them, because it is a very individual and personal choice.
I think you're right with that, because I remember you were saying earlier that you did not necessarily want to do the testing because you didn't want to live with that information that you're positive, but you did in your 30s. At 32, you decided you were going to do it.
Absolutely. And this is why we say, like, knowledge is power. It was scary to get the test, because you think, well, if I'm BRCA positive, then my chances of getting breast cancer are greater. But better way to look at it is, okay, well, if I know that, then maybe I can make some informed decisions so that I don't get cancer at all.
Right. I mean, well said. Okay, I have a quick question. Do you have any advice for young women who are nervous to be tested? It's a good question, Raquel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's always good to have a partner, someone that can be with you, to go for the consultation with the genetic counselor, to be with you when you get the results. And like I said, it's good to have someone at home, whether it's a partner, a mother, sister, but also, to seek a talk therapist, someone that could be there to help navigate you through the process, because everyone is going to process this differently.
That is correct. It's very individualistic for sure. All right, so let's talk about, and then we're going to put another comment up here. But let's talk about. We talked earlier about remissioning, right? We talked about how we can take a bad situation, like in your case, you had to have a double mastectomy, but you were a fashion major in college. You loved fashion. You felt you were born for it. You couldn't find wigs in one place and how to tie a scarf and how to feel pretty. Because you're right, during that journey, the last thing you feel is pretty, especially if you're doing chemo. And I know for some women, chemo darkens up the skin, and just all these different things that happen to make you feel unattractive. So you started Cancer Fashionista. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So like you said, I've always loved fashion. And once I knew what my course of treatment was, I was like, okay, let's try and have some fun with this. There's got to be some beautiful post-mastectomy bras. There's got to be some fun tutorials on how to tie a scarf. I wanted to try and to bring my power back. And I couldn't find it all in one place. So I just decided to put a list together. And my good mama friend, Tina, who helped me with my kids, she was like my arms and legs through the whole process. I love telling the story because she had a British accent. She has a British accent. And she was like, Melissa, you ought to start a blog. And I'm like, Tina, I can't even make dinner. I'm going to start a blog. And then I literally woke up one morning and I was like, Cancer Fashionista. It was just kind of rolled off my tongue. And I thought, all right, I'll put it out there. And once I realized that it was helping other women, I thought, how can I not do this? And then I just became just so hungry and excited when I found a new resource. Like Anna Ono Intimates is like my favorite bra brand. And Dana has become a dear, dear friend of mine. I love, satin pillowcases. I love are like fantastic, which something I never knew when you're losing your hair, all these funny little tricks, how to tie a scarf, how to wear lashes when you don't have your own. So I enjoyed learning through my own need. And then I had even more fun sharing it with other women, really.
Yeah, I just put your website up there because it's it's such a important component. No one, we think about all the big things, right? The chemotherapy, the radiation, all of what we go through when we're going through a cancer, but the after effects, right? The after effects, how to continue to live, how to continue to actually have a life, how to have fun. Yeah, how to have a life.
I know for me, I was like, what does cancer look like after this?
Yes.
And then for our metastatic sisters, what does treatment look like tomorrow, the next day, the next day? These are big questions. And that's why community is so important, because you can ask your mom, your best friend, but unless you've been through it, it's impossible for them to be able to weigh in and give you advice. So I cannot express the importance of the community that we have, which is amazing, because there's so many advocates out there that are rallying every single day and sharing resources and information, and there can't be too many of us.
So Sarah says, from a cancer equity project DEI perspective, a recent JMA study article shows that black, white, maybe she meant women, have the highest incidence of TNBC, and they're diagnosed younger, later, and die at a doubling rate. Organizations like Tiger Lily Foundation and Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation are wonderful organizations for women of color to find information. And I'm going to leave it up there for a second, because I know that you're the chair of the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation. Tell me, how did that come about?
Yes, well, thank you so much. And thank you for bringing up this very important topic. It actually gets me really angry, because there is such a need for more treatment and research for Black breast cancer. And I want to add another really important resource. One of my dearest friends, Ricky Fairley, is the founder of Touch, the Black Breast Cancer Alliance. And she is doing incredible work and is an incredible ally of the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation, and has a mission called When We Trial. And so she actually has put together a pathway for Black women to be able to get involved with clinical trials on a very wide scale. So she is moving mountains, literally. But I it's a funny story. The Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation is a national organization. It just so happens that they're based here in Bergen County, New Jersey, where I live. And when I was first diagnosed, some of my mom friends said, "Oh, you should talk to Haley." Well, Haley lives like down the street from me. Her twin daughters go to school with my daughter, and we met, and it was like, instant friendship, instant mentorship. She's just been incredible, and she really was the first one who showed me the importance of community and introduced me to the world of conferences and meeting other thrivers. And one thing led to another. We would work on little projects here and there. And then last year I was invited to be their board chair, which is an incredible, incredible honor, especially following in Ricky's footsteps. So the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation is an incredible home for anyone that's tuning in. We actually have Zoom chats every single month. We have several of them. Some are just for metastatic triple negative breast cancer thrivers, and some are, we have TNBC Tuesdays, we have Thriver Thursdays. So if you go to tnbcfoundation.org, if you go to our homepage, you can register for any of those calls, and we try and do them at different times so that we hit women all over the country and also over the world. We've had women that dial in from every country imaginable.
I'm tapping that in. So at the Cancer Equity Project, I think you and I spoke about this. We had Ricky, as I mentioned before earlier, when we talked privately. She was a speaker at our May Seek, color workshop, which was amazing. And so one of our 3 initiatives at the Cancer Equity Foundation, Cancer Equity Project is we are going to be doing a trial that we expected to be the first trial with the largest percentage of Black women being registered for this trial. That's our aim, because we recognize that there is inequity in the space, and I'm glad that you also know about that as well. And we're also doing what we call a journey map. And the first cancer we're going to map is a triple negative breast cancer.
Amazing.
Because again, Black women die 40% higher than white women with that particular cancer, and they're diagnosed later. So those are our first 2 initiatives that we're doing in that space as we try to attack this issue. And so we're doing that trial, and it's on triple negative breast cancer as well as our journey maps. So I'm glad you mentioned
that. Doing that. We can't have enough hands on deck here for this issue. Serious.
Absolutely. That's why I love collaboration, because we're in different parts of the country, right? But we all have the same issues. And so where we can lock arms and partner, it's the way to go. Sally said, Sarah Loudon, equally noteworthy. Many Ashkenazi Jews and others have other genes either not yet identified or not yet determined to be significant, yet likely will be with time. I say this as an Ashkenazi stage 4 thriver. Okay.
Wow.
Sally, welcome to the show, Sally.
Sally. That's my Sally Wolf.
You know her?
I love, she's one of my dearest friends.
Oh, Sally, thank you for being here. I say this as an Ashkenazi stage 4 thriver, daughter of an Ashkenazi survivor, both diagnosed relatively young, but negative for all the genes thus far known to be precursors. In other words, genetic testing is relatively young and evolving all the time, so vigilance is important for us all, even when negative. That is a great share. Sally, thank you for sharing that.
And you, not to put you on the spot, but you should have Sally come on next.
Sally? Okay, Sally.
You're a wonderful speaker and an incredible friend, and she is, I can't say enough.
All right, Sally. Follow me right here, Sally, on LinkedIn, and send me an inbox and a DM message if you'd love to be on the show, because yes, we certainly want to get the word out. And then Sarah says, we love Anna Ona and Dana Cassie. Thank you, Melissa, for talking about ways women can regain their feminine power and feel beautiful and desirable through and after a diagnosis. I just think it's just so important for our healing. And Madison says, Ricky Fairley joined us for our first Seek workshop. The work she does is amazing.
Yeah, Ricky is like magic.
Yes. So, and then Sarah tagged Ricky. Yes. So just so that she knows you're giving her that big plug. Melissa, tell me a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit more about,
I have so much more fun talking about everybody else, and then you keep making me talk about myself. Okay.
But you're bringing in others, so that's good, because this show was about your journey, but your journey, right, was a community, right, and other people involved. So it's wonderful to shout them out as well. And so I wanted to just, as we're ending the show, to talk a little bit more about the Cancer Fashionista ministry mission that you're on, and what it has meant to your life, and how many have you impacted? How have you impacted those women?
Well, this is the reason I get up every day, Sarah. I just love Sharon. I just called you Sarah.
It's okay. It's all good.
Up there. I have been doing this a very long time, and I love making women feel beautiful at a time when they feel like their femininity has been robbed of them.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal and my mission is that I don't want anyone to ever feel like that. Because when you lose your hair, your lashes, your brows, your breasts, and oftentimes all at the same time, it can be so defeminizing. Mm-hmm. And there are so many ways, like I say, I can't save lives with lipstick, but it makes you feel better. And if you look better, you feel better. And you might feel better going to Trader Joe's to get the lemons that you forgot, or getting your kid from daycare, or, meeting your husband for date night. Like, you just want to be able to go through your everyday life and feel like, I've always said, I didn't need to look and feel like a supermodel. I just want to look like Melissa. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to hold on to parts of yourself. So that's really my mission. And there are days that it's really hard to do that. And I try and help lift women with whatever, tips and tricks I can find. And sometimes there are days that you don't want to get out of bed, that you don't feel like putting makeup on, and that's okay. We have meditation. For me, sometimes I need to play a little Madonna to get myself going. Like, there are so many, like, whatever you need to do. Like, I just like to think of myself as a big sister. And during COVID, I launched, one thing I always wanted to do was launch a podcast. And so I did, and it's called Dear Cancer, I'm Beautiful. And that's really, I would say, that's my love right now. And I'm like around 100 episodes, and it's become, what I love about podcasts is it's like a library, right? Like, Instagram is great, and I, obviously do a lot on there too. But what I love about podcasting is, like, it's like a library. If you're like, all right, today I need to learn about hair loss, or today I want to learn more about how do I take care of my bones. Like, I feel like it's become a resource that people can dip in and out of as they need it.
I just wanted to put the podcast name out there, because the reason why I love Tea Talk, and I never thought I would have loved it this much, because, and I tell this to my guests, I learn so much every time that I bring someone on, no matter what they're speaking about. And as we talked about, I'm a survivor myself. And when I see other women out there who are survivors and thrivers, inspiring other women, it's just so encouraging, because every day, and I know Sarah knows this person, but someone in my old church in Boca, just got diagnosed with breast cancer. And, she announced last night that she's going to have to do a mastectomy, and just the tears and all of that stuff. And so and we talked about this earlier, Melissa, that we hear so many bad stories on cancer, and we hardly hear the good stories, the thrivers, stories like Sally or yours, and others who are farther ahead than us, 20 years out, 30 years out, 40 years out. And you said something very interesting before we came on live that really gave me food for thought. And you said, when some women get beyond, their cancers, when they've survived, when they've thrived, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to have it in their vocabulary. They move on. But then we don't get the ones who are going through it now don't get the benefit of that story, of that hope, of that conversation, that, what, here I am, I'm 20 years out, I'm 15 years out, I'm 10 years out, I'm even 5 years out. Because when you get a diagnosis, you literally think, I am dead, and even someone just 5 years out, at least you feel like, all right, there's 5 years into the future. And I would love, this is why conversations like these, where we bring on thrivers and survivors, is just to encourage someone who is going through this, and to say, hey, here's Melissa. 10 years down the line, double mastectomy, triple negative breast cancer. Everyone's afraid of that one. But here she is looking beautiful, not just surviving, actually thriving, remissioning her life. Wasn't a model, but certainly act like a model right now for those who are in the space. So it's very encouraging for me. Learn, locate. Please connect with Melissa. I guess Sarah tagged someone.
Ooh.
If you're already working together, your energies are so aligned, and I'd love to see how you make.
Sarah, you could be my matchmaker. I love it.
Sarah's an excellent matchmaker. And Joseph, let's get her booked. This is Sally Wolf. You're in my prayers for your surgery. I guess Sally might have said something. I am in. I would love to chat. We'll follow you now. Having surgery next week. One of my medicines caused a freak side effect that needs to be fixed. But I'll be back in action very soon and would love to chat. I post about advocacy here on LinkedIn all the time. Excited to connect. So thank you for recommending her. And Joseph, which is our assistant for the Tea Talk show, will reach out to her. Sally, just send us an email address in DM, and we're certainly going to reach out to you for that. Now, we love to end our show. And Melissa, you've already given us so many uplifting things, but, we talk about Tea Talks, right? We talk about T cells being the happy cells. So as we are ending our show, leave us with something that's going to get us really, give us some happy vibes, some happy feelings, something hopeful that we can say that I can walk away with for the rest of the day. So I'm going to give it the last word.
Well, I remember when I was really, really scared, when I was first diagnosed, I went to like a Reiki healer and I was like, really just freaked out about the whole thing. And she said to me, the only thing that every one of us is guaranteed is today. Mm-hmm. Today, like right now. So even if it's something little, like having lunch with your daughter or making yourself a cup of tea or going for a walk or putting lotion on your hands, like just take a minute and enjoy that moment because we don't know. We don't know.
I think that's well said. And I heard something recently, right? And I know you have the last word, but someone just said something, but I heard something recently. And I love this one day analogy. When you get a diagnosis and they talk about your 5-year survival rate, whether it's 60%, 70%, whatever it may be, there was another counter argument that if you're not diagnosed, what is your survival rate? You have no idea if you're going to be here in 5 years anyway. So a lot of times cancer patients think, oh my God, I have a 5-year survival rate, maybe it's XY, but a non-cancer person has no idea either if they're going to be here in a year, 2 years. So it goes back to your conversation here, your ending statement. We have today. We have today. That is the only thing we have. Literally is this moment, not even this afternoon, but this moment. So that is a good
That's the guarantee. That's the only guarantee.
That's the only guarantee. So I'll just read these last few. Having so many friends and family members with breast cancer, I know how important hearing these personal stories are. It's so good to hearing there are options out there. Your podcast and ours will change how women deal with their diagnosis. Thank you, Ilana.
Thank you so much. And you can check out the Dear Cancer and Beautiful podcast is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I'd love it if you can leave a review and, feel free also on Instagram or here to send me a message. I would love to hear what you guys think. And if there's other topics you'd like me to cover, I like to think of it as a very interactive exchange with my people. I want to make sure I'm serving everyone what they need.
Awesome. Melissa, when we're done, go back in and just put your Instagram handle in the comments.
Sure.
Right, Key. I love this energy. All around us. Give big, bright energy, and you are sure to receive it. That's right. Sarah's actually on a vacation right now, getting some good energy in her system. So that's why she's not here.
Oh, can I come? I want to go on an energetic vacation like that.
Me too. I want one of those. And Eliza, she absolutely will listen in, and myself as well. And Sally says, I pole dance my way through cancer. Wow.
You could talk about pole dancing too.
Wow. We have to definitely have you on here, Sally, because I want to know how you mentally did that, much less physically. energizing and elevating in all the ways. And that's the reason
While
why.
on my podcast too, I can send you the episodes so you can make sure you prep before you talk to her.
There you go. That's my girl, Melissa. Send me that episode. I want to know so I can ask the right questions when she comes on.
Absolutely.
Melissa, it was really a joy. It's our second time speaking together, and it's just been just my absolute pleasure. Thank you for inspiring us, and I want to find ways for us to work together with the Cancer Equity Project, getting the word out there. So we'll have to talk about how we can.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me on. I'm so glad that we've connected, and I love everything that you do, and thank you for supporting our community with all this wonderful education.
Awesome. Well, folks, if you're watching on a replay, you can still ask questions. Melissa will answer even later on. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on Monday here at Tea Talk.
Karen.
You're very welcome.